Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Vlogmas. I feel like Nigella right now, or Jamie Oliver, standing in front of a makeshift kitchen that I've created on the bar today. I'm really excited because I haven't had this machine for very long. Well, I say that, I've had it about 2 years now, but I don't think I've done any baking on my vlog channel. And when I tell you this thing has been a game changer for mixing things, getting things like made very quickly, doing things correctly, I honestly think it's one of the best kitchen investments, like hands down. This is the Kenwood K-Mix and I got it a couple of Christmases ago from my parents, and it's just been like the best thing to have in the kitchen. There's so many different great settings, and today I'll show you, just in case you do have the same mixer or you're going for the same sort of thing, I'm using the K-shaped tool in there, so that's ready to go. This is all clean and like set up, prepped. The oven is preheating at 200 degrees. I'm gonna list everything below, don't worry, in the description. But I thought I would just sort of talk through the ingredients because today is basically a cook with me. I've written it all down. So we've got 200 grams of butter here, which I've kind of left for about half an hour just to kind of soften up slightly. It doesn't really need to be super soft if you've got a mixer like this, but if you're doing it by hand or with like a handheld mixer, it can sometimes be a bit tougher. So I would definitely say like leave it to like get to room temperature essentially. So I've got 300 grams of caster sugar, which I'm going to measure out in a minute, don't worry, this is not all going in. And then the 325 grams of self-raising flour. I've got 1 egg, I've got vanilla extract, and I've got this magical matcha. I've gone for the Clear Spring organic Japanese green tea matcha powder. I'm honestly really impressed with matcha powder. I feel like it really does transform whatever you're baking and making, and it works really well. And obviously you guys are guessing from the title of this video, Grinch cookies. It's the best way to make your cookies green and also incorporate a bit of that matcha flavour, which I feel like tastes even better in a cookie than like a matcha drink. If you're not a matcha drinker, don't worry too much because the flavour isn't too intense. It's kind of like a subtle tea hint to the cookie. And then we've got the final ingredient, which in a lot of recipes you can mix and match. So if you wanted to do like 2 types of chocolate, you so could. But I've got 400 grams of white chocolate, and it's the cooking chocolate. So I'm going for all white chocolate in this recipe just to keep it simple. I don't want to like add too many different flavors just because I've got the matcha in there. The vanilla is going to add just a little bit more like subtle sweetness. It's not going to be like sickly, but it's just going to balance everything out. Like I found just adding a splash of vanilla really helps. We've got our 300 grams of sugar. I'm just going to pour that in. And then I'm going to go in with the 200 grams of butter as well, which is nice and soft now. So that's definitely helped matters. I get so excited watching this mix together. So whilst this is mixing, I want to crack in the egg, which this is going to be interesting, to say the least. The egg in now. That's incorporated. Then I'm going to go in with a tiny splash of vanilla at this stage. And then I'm going to start incorporating the flour really gradually. Now if you're noticing it getting a little dry, you can add your milk here, but I'm just going to see how it goes because it is forming a dough now. Genuinely, don't know how Nigella does this because she has so much to say when she's talking. Oh. Okay, so that's incorporating really nicely. I'm now going to go in with the matcha. Now, because it's matcha powder, it can actually dry out the recipe just slightly. So at this stage you may want to add water to the mix, but I'm just going to do a couple of heaped teaspoons until I get the right colour. To be honest, one could probably do it, but I want to make these, oh gosh, extra green. I've just spilled matcha powder everywhere. There we go. It's looking really, really good. Now comes the fun part. I mean, it's all pretty fun, but we're going to chop up the chocolate, which is really, really fun. So last time I made this, I've learnt basically, not from my mistakes, but just things that I would tweak. And one of the things I would tweak is to make the chocolate chunks much smaller, because I was basically following the natural shape of the square, or like the rectangle, sorry, of the chocolate. But I actually think it's better if you cut into the chocolate a little bit more, just because these chunks of this chocolate bar are slightly too big, and I feel like it's a bit too much chocolate in a bite. I'm pretty sure there's people out there who will disagree, but for me, I found it much better to go for smaller chunks. Like I said, this is the fun part. It kind of reminds me of, let's do maybe one at a time. It kind of reminds me of the chocolate game. Have you ever played that game as a kid? Where you had to like dress up, roll a dice, and if you rolled a 6, you'd start cutting up chocolate with a knife and fork, and you'd have to like put all these clothes on, and then the next person to roll a 6 would stop you, and you'd have to take it all off, get all the clothes back on, and start cutting up the chocolate and eating it, and it was whoever could eat the most chocolate. Such a fun game. But yeah, I'm going to cut these kind of at an angle and then cut them again, just because I think that's going to be much better. Yeah, this is interesting. Also as well, fun fact, when I was younger I absolutely hated white chocolate, and now it's one of my favourite things. So clearly my taste palette has changed over the years, and I prefer things much creamier. I'm just going to move this off the chopping board and into, gosh, there's so many flakes here. Do you know what you could do as well? You could use this white chocolate for the velvetizer. If you've got a Hotel Chocolat velvetizer, oh my goodness me, put this chocolate in there. I'm actually really craving one. I've only had a couple this season. I feel like I haven't been using it as often as I should be. So I will be doing that later today. I've also been going through my Hotel Chocolat calendar, which I was supposed to share, but I've actually ended up eating all the chocolate myself. I think I've given one person a chocolate since I've opened that calendar. I've been, honestly, it's one of those calendars I just don't want to share, because every day is a different chocolate. Okay, this is looking good. This is looking really, really, really chopped up now. Just to kind of preview there. Pop this into the bowl just for the aesthetics. And then what we're going to do, we're going to flour this surface, and we're going to knead out the dough and roll in the chocolate. This is the messy part, but it's fun, I promise. I have cleared the space. I popped the dough on the bar area, and I've got the chocolate ready to go. I floured the surface just a little. If I need to flour it again, I will do. The beauty of this is it's just kind of eyeball measurements. You could weigh out the measurements if you wanted to, but I just kind of eyeball it, and I'm quite generous. So what I'm going to do is just kind of knead this out ever so slightly. I'm just going to flatten this out slightly and incorporate the chocolate like bit by bit. I like to hand knead this chocolate in just so that it's really evenly incorporated, and it just makes it a little bit easier, because we don't want to overwork the dough. And oh my gosh, it's crazy that I'm folding in so much chocolate. And I feel like once you've mixed in the chocolate, the dough just almost doubles. And if any pieces of chocolate fall out, you can just pop them back in. It's not too bad to do that. Right, that is all the chocolate. Oh my goodness me. There we go. So that is your dough, and we're gonna split that up into like balls, and then I'm gonna bring the tray over, lay them out and start baking them. Got a pretty large tray here, and last time I did about 2 trays worth of cookies. Now, I like to go for size that big. I don't really know how you would measure that, but I could weigh it. But just really be generous, because the point of cookies, I've come to realise, is they need to be nice and big. They've got the self-raising flour in there, so they are going to kind of fluff up. But the beauty of them is that they are this like epic cookie. And I'm really, some of them are a bit different in size ever so slightly, but I'm not too fussed about having it perfect. And if you find you need a bit more dough and like a little bit less chocolate, just pick at the mix and just get the dough out. I like to spread them slightly when I am baking them in the tray, just so that they have that room to move. I managed to put 6 on here last time, but I feel like there might be a risk of them touching, but we'll see. We'll see how we get on. And what I love about this recipe is it's so simple. Aside from the chocolate, everything else you should really have in your pantry. So yeah, these are going to be really generous cookies, like the kind of cookies that you get in well, I was going to say Starbucks or something like that, but they're not that big these days, are they, with shrinkflation. Okay, so a little bit of dough left over. I could probably make 3 or 4 with those. I'm going to pop these into the oven. This is what they look like. Oh my gosh, don't want to spill them over. I'm going to pop these in the oven for around 10 minutes. Just see where they are after 10, and not be too concerned if they're looking slightly gooey, because they do need to have that time to cool down, and they will naturally harden a bit more. So I'm going to allow 10 minutes initially, and then we'll see where we are. These are obviously slightly bigger than the last time I made them, but only like marginally. So I'll let you know how these get on. Again, if you want to do like a smaller cookie and you're like making a big batch or you're gifting, then obviously you're going to change the timings slightly, so just keep an eye on the oven. But yeah, let's pop these in and I will show you the results, get the others in, and yeah, we'll all be done. So guys, we are all finished up. The cookies have cooled down and they're now ready to serve. I'm literally so impressed with these. I think they've come out really, really nicely, and they are just the ultimate cookie. I feel like I could call these a Christmas Eve cookie, because I love to do like a movie on the night before Christmas, and we tend to do like the Polar Express or just something really like cozy and festive. Obviously these are the Grinch cookies, so if you're deciding to watch the Grinch, then you have got to make these. Let me know please if you try them out and what you think about the recipe. I feel like because of the white chocolate, it just allows the green to really pop, but I feel like you could go all out with these and really like mix up the chocolate. So I'm actually considering doing M&Ms and doing like green and red M&Ms instead of the chocolate, just to see how that tastes. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of experiment with the recipe now that I've got the cookies down right and I know what I should be putting in ingredients wise. I feel like I've got it now, I've nailed it, and these are just going to be like my go-to for when friends come round or when I kind of fancy a sweet treat during the festivities. And yeah, I really hope you guys like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow for another video.